So yes,
Great.
we can start our discussion.
Yeah, let me know if there are any disturbances from my end. I just want to make sure we have a good feed.
Yeah, it would be good feed, so don't worry about that. In fact, there are a lot of background noises near my home today, so that might have a real problem than anything else.
And that's all part of the meditation sounds for the listener.
Yes, whatever they would like to feel. So we can't help it, right? We can only help whatever is possible. So coming to the point, what we were discussing is that everything is predetermined. So there is one nice sutta, but anyway, that I will share with Aryu later because he'll be excited to know about that. But without that also, from the beginning, okay, you have three problems or three kind of scenarios, all something to do with predestined, predetermined, whether we have a choice, we don't have a choice, whether we have free will, no free will, what is free will, how can somebody say that you have free will or you don't have free will. So that comes back to the same thing. And another thing is that, okay, even if you have free will, the moment you make a choice, it means that it becomes destined. So you are destined to take that decision and you have taken that decision, so now you are bound by that. So this kind of speculation is part of every human being, whether he believes in this or doesn't believe in that or whatever it is. So that is the source at which all speculations, all arguments, all discussions, um, all philosophies, all theories, everything emerge. That's a root of it. Okay, so there's nothing wrong in feeling that everything is predestined, or nothing is predestined, and it is partially predestined, partially not predestined, some free will, no free will, all of that. So this is the context, right? So now how do we solve this? Okay, how do we solve this problem? So in the tradition, especially in the Indian tradition, not with Abrahamic traditions, in the Indian traditions, which later became part of the Chinese tradition also, and it went into all Southeast Asian countries, is that there is a predetermination wherein you say, or that person feels that through understanding or through true knowledge, what is called as true knowledge, one can know the destiny. So the predetermined is like having a destiny. So there is a particular destiny, like a stone being thrown, it follows the target or the track, so nothing can be done, right? So it is following that, like a bullet being shot, so it goes exactly in the same way as it is directed. So in that way it is determined, the path is determined, so nothing that can be done in between. We can bring in outside forces to make it shift, but when it shifts, it again goes on that direction the way it is shifted. So in the Vedanta, they came up with following kind of uh, theories. You take an arrow and you have left that arrow. Now nothing can be done about that arrow. That arrow is going to go and hit the target, but further arrows can be stopped. Okay, this is one. Second, you can think about where you want to hit that arrow, and then depending upon that you can decide whether you want to shoot or not to shoot. This is the second way. But again, the arrow which is shot, nothing can be done. Whether what it hits, it hits. So if the life is conditioned in that way and you're going in that format or in that way of things, it will reach the target as it should be reaching, unless there's something that can be done. And we don't know what can be done to make it different. So in the second one came three definitive views. The first view is that everything is defined by karma or deeds. So you had a past deed, and that is this arrow, and it has hit. So it is going on that target, and then you have to either pray God, or you have to say that that's my karma and be done with it. But nothing that can be done. So the example given is that as a child is born, and it is born with some deformity or something like that, nothing that can be done to change its deformity. What can you do? Somebody has been born out of polio. Can you change it? Somebody is born out of cancer. Can you change it? Or somebody is born with some genetic problems. What can you do about it? So you have to accept to it. So that happened due to the past karma or past deed, and we don't know what is that past deed is all about. So we don't know, right? So only consolation I can give is that, yeah, there was a past deed, and due to that past deed this happened, and because this happened, now we don't know why it happened, why me. So many people, they will believe that when this happens, that why me comes. Why am I chosen one for this pain? Why am I the chosen one for all this kind of problems I'm facing in the life? So they go to the astrologer, and the astrologer then says that it is due to some stars or some constellation, some this, some that, or some karma, or whatever it is. So that goes in that direction. Then the second thing comes in this is about a God. So now we don't know the reason. So then the God is the one who is teaching me something, and to teach, the only way he can teach me is by giving pain. So that he wants me to understand that I've done certain mistake in my past life, and hence I am going to suffer the consequence of it. And remember, all these are predestined. None of them are something to do with non-destined. They are predestined. Okay, this is a second. And the third one is that, you know what, there can be a cause but no effect, and there can be effect, no cause. Okay, and in that third one we can have A and B. A is that in the past there was a cause, and in this life it is an effect, or this life is a cause and the next life is an effect. And comes the third kind of argument: there is neither a cause nor an effect. That means to say that whatever you are facing right now is facing on the body. So once you die, since the body no longer is there, it ends there. So this becomes annihilation. Okay, so you are annihilating the problem itself, because there is no future life, there is no karma, there is no God, there is this, there is that. All those are concepts. In reality, when you see the pain and the pleasures or whatever you're facing in life is just happening in random, and you're giving some value to that random things which are happening, which makes no sense, and hence at death everything ends. There's nothing which goes further. There's nothing to be scared about. There's nothing to be latching about. There is, yes, it is predetermined or predestined to a certain degree, yes, but then after this life, there ends it. So the first three views have rebirth theory, and the last one doesn't have any rebirth. And in the second one, where you have God, there is something called reincarnation. So you reincarnate as something or the other, right? So you decide your reincarnation, and I'm called as so and so, like in the case of Dalai Lama. So Dalai Lama 1 will decide I will become Dalai Lama 2, and a Dalai Lama 2 becomes Dalai Lama 3 and 4 and 5, and now we have 14th, and the 15th one will come, like that. And Panchan Lama is also same thing. So now you have you determine that you will be reborn as so and so, and that have not rebirth, it is reincarnate. The same person is reincarnated as another person. So what it means is that the soul keeps on moving from one body to another body to another body, because it has to reincarnate. So there is reincarnation. So now when you have reincarnation, it comes to the first theory, that everything happening due to karma. So in some conceptual usage, they don't feel that it is God which is doing it, it is karma which is doing it. In some tradition, they believe that God is doing it, your objective is to merge with the God, and once you merge with the God, then you're done. So Abrahamic religions talk about the God as one thing and you as another thing. So you become an agent of the God, just like Jesus saying that I am through me you see God, right? So I am the agent of the God, I am the Messiah, or I am the so and so of the God. So everything being predestined or predetermined, you follow a particular track. So whatever you do, whether you are doing good deeds or bad deeds or whatever deeds, is all driven out of predestined. If you are doing bad deed at this point in time, it's because you are predestined to do bad deeds. If you are doing good deeds in right now, it means that you are predestined to do good deeds. It's not that you can choose whether you want to do bad deeds or good deeds. It's a situation when it demands. So God will say, now you do bad deed on this person because he's bad, so you should be taking that bad thing, and then for if you want to cut a bad thing, you should also use bad. So the typical example given here is that certain trees and plants and things are poisonous. You can't be merciful with the poisonous things, so you have to weed them out. Even though you're killing them, you have to weed them out. In the same way, animals and birds and insects and all of these, right? So if you allow them to multiply, they will harm. They are harm to the society. So you need to do that. So they're already predestined to die. It's not that you're killing them. You're basically not doing anything. You've been sent in this world to clear out those beings which are of no use. So the Abrahamic religions believe in that. So there is like the Moses or the Abraham. In Muslim it is Ibrahim, and in the Jewish tradition is Abraham. So then he is the what we can say, he is the angel, and then he spoke about how he should be dealing with bad and good. So God has asked you to take that action. So in that, there is nothing that you are doing anything wrong about it. So you can kill, you can do whatever you want, because you are cleansing the entire environment. So because they are predetermined to die, they are destined to die, and it's not you who is killing it. Yes, Harry.
I just have a question. Do you think this is kind of a distortion of the teaching that passed over time, or you think this was kind of the view since the beginning?
It is the views from the beginning. So that is the reason he says 62 wrong views. Brahmajala Sutta.
So you mean this God asked you to kill? It's there from the beginning.
Yeah. It is there. So even in the even if I look at the Bhagavad Gita, the Krishna would say that your role is a warrior, so you can't run away from the scene, right? So you have to kill your uncles, you have to kill your cousins, because they are doing bad deeds. So there's no mercy. Right, so you can't say that, oh, you know what, why I should kill them, let me run away. He says that that's not your role. Your role is of a warrior class. As a warrior, you're supposed to kill. But you are not killing them, actually. There is nothing to kill. Okay, there's only 5 elements and consciousness. So 5 element goes back to 5 elements. Consciousness goes back to its domain. So neither anybody is killed nor anything is happening. Okay, so you are basically, they are destined to die. They are doing their karma or the deeds in such a way that they have to annihilate. So you are just annihilating them either which way. Whether you don't kill them, they'll get annihilated. If you kill them, also they get annihilated. Yes, sorry.
No, I'm just thinking because the Bhagavad Gita should be a teaching that's leads to liberation as well.
Yes,
Right?
it
So
is there.
I'm
So
wondering how
it is there, but it is, you shouldn't take it personally, right? So he in the initial he says, and then there are a lot of yoga which talks about how one should perform that action, right? So what I'm trying to say is, it is predestined, predetermined. That's the whole topic, right? Every religion worth the name would look at this predestined, predetermined in this way. Either you believe in karma and you do the karma which is right, appropriate, okay, to take care of that predestined and predetermined, then you use the second one where God will tell you what to do and what not to do. So there comes a concept of the God. So God is a creator. So then you have a creator who is taking care of it. This is the second approach. And the third approach is, there is neither an effect or a cause, or there's nothing called cause and effect. There can be some causes in the past life which makes the result in this life, or there can be causes in this life which can manifest in this life, or it will go into next life. So what they wanted to address as a problem is the probability on one side and possibility in another side, because no human being would like to have something which is non-deterministic. You can't say, I cannot determine at this point in time, right? So all our quest across the entire life spectrum, every moment we are living, is to make a prediction. So we want a predictability. We want something that can be said that, you know what, this is extremely stable. So let's say market, it should be having stability. Then if you take job, it should have stability. If you take investment, you should have stability. If you take going out, you should be stable, right? So you can't say, "Hey, you know what, I don't know whether I can go out or not, whether I can drive car or not, whether I get a visa or not, whether I become a citizen of a country or not." You don't want to be in that state. So the predictability is what we are looking at, and in any business, why we do this market analysis, why we do projection, is to become predictable. Whether we can achieve the target in Q1 or Q2 or Q3, Q4. Why? Because we have that predeterministic attitude and predestined attitude. So this would be there within us, within all of us. Yes, Aryu.
I'm thinking in actuality, everyone is trying to understand dependent origination. Everyone's trying to understand cause and effect, right? Everyone's in their mind, they're trying to understand what I did leads to this. That's all philosophies are all about, right?
Yes, but they don't know the exact flow of the paticca or dependent origination, and hence there is suffering. So what are we trying to address in all the philosophies, Indian philosophy, Western philosophy, or Eastern and Western philosophy, whatever philosophies we are trying to get into? Either you get into an annihilation view, or you go into the creator view, right? So there should be something out there. So there is some being which is making this happen. Like, how does a tree grow? Right, so now it comes to seed. How did the seed happen? Now, if this question is asked, what would be the answer? So now we don't know. How the seed happened, we don't know. So then we have to go by these three conditions. Either you say that, you know what, the effect was there, the cause was there in somewhere, and we don't know the exact cause of it, just like the Big Bang theory. We don't know the cause. So now we are saying it is a Big Bang. Right? How did the universe expand? We don't know. But we know after expansion. Right? After the Big Bang we know. But what happened prior to the Big Bang? And why Big Bang happened? Now we come into the deterministic theory when it happens. So when life evolves, then you can have a predetermined. You can now determine whatever choices you're making, whatever you're doing, whatever is said is all already conditioned. It's already determined. But why? Why is it conditioned? And why it is determined? We basically don't have that answer. Okay. This is the tenet at which all the religions, all the philosophies work, whether in partial or in full. So if you take Vedanta non-dual, it covers up the problem with a good solutions, and it comes to the end of it. Oh, you know what? It has happened because of Brahman. Okay. So Brahman is the only reality. Everything else is an illusion. So now the question comes, why did Brahman did that way? He did that way because he normally enjoys creating something. Now the question comes, why does he enjoy that way? No, his enjoyment is predetermined. Okay, and that is called Ananda. So there is a bliss, a happiness, and he is happy. He is there in everyone. Okay, that means you don't have a choice to make. So the natural law is to be happy. By misunderstanding, you are unhappy. If you leave that unhappiness, you become happy. That is your natural state of the mind. So you are in search of happiness, in pursuit of happiness. So when you get that happiness, you are happy. You are genuinely happy. In that way also it is predetermined. Whether you will be happy or not is predetermined. So Buddha added all of this and called it as Sankata, conditions. So your happiness is conditioned, right? So, and when it is conditioned, it should run through a predetermined process, right? So that means it should follow through the dependent origination or the paticca samutpada, which is going to tell you if this is there and this happens and this happens and this happens, like that. So like a waterfall model. Right? So there's a law of conditionality. So then he solved the last problem, which was there, that there is a cause in the past life for which I am having an effect in this life. But there is no plausible cause in this life. I can only see the effect of it. What does that mean? I can see the effect of my birth, but I don't know the cause of the birth. Right? Because I don't remember. How did I die in my past life? I have no idea. Or what killed me? Or what hit me? Or was there No, you can finish your work. Okay. So I don't know why I was born. So I know that I'm born in India. Now I have no crazy idea why I was born in India. Why not born in some other country? Why not born as a Deva? Or why not born as a Brahma? I don't know. Yeah, they say about the realms, but I have no idea. So all that I can see is the current one, which is an effect of it. So I don't know the cause. So they cut the cause. I'm saying that I have no idea on the cause. Okay, this is, yes, Chirag.
Maybe so there's something I'm not getting, but let's say, you're talking about this specific example, where let's say the birth is the effect, but it's not clear why the birth happened, so the cause is not clear. But isn't the cause determined in, let's say, a previous life? Because, ultimately, since, everything is just a reincarnation, and there's like a continuity there. So whatever cause is there, it's from a previous life. So I'm just trying to reconcile this view with your current discussion about, there is an effect, but there is no cause. So how do you reconcile both of these?
See, theoretically, you can connect both. You can say that, yeah, maybe something would be in the past and now you are seeing its effect. But if you really try to decipher, you will find no cause. You'll only find the effect.
Can I comment on this?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I guess maybe in effect, what you're saying here is that the mind likes to think of causes. Let's say if you look at fragments of life, or fragments of experiences, or fragments of emotion, and you fragment it to part A and you fragment it into a part B, then you can basically say, like B is the effect of cause A, but that's just mind creating up, cause and effect, because it thinks in a fragmented way.
Right.
But let's say, if there is no mind, then there is no fragment A and there's no fragment B. So basically, in that sense, maybe there is no cause and effect. It's like your mind thinks that there is this conditionality, where this happened and that's why that happened. So the mind perceives those things as two separate things, and therefore, it links it in this condition. But let's say if one were able to look at this whole scenario without using mind, I think one might come to that conclusion that there's no cause and effect.
Right. So that is the third one. So there, Buddha talks about three things. One, people believe that there is deeds which created it. The second one is there is God which created that problem or the solution, whatever it is. And third one is that there is no cause nor effect. People fight or argument or create a misunderstanding on either a cause or an effect, or mind is making it up. So neither there's a cause nor there's an effect. So it becomes random event now. So it becomes randomizer. So things are happening out of random. I have no idea why it happens, but I believe it is random. So it's just a random thing which has happened, so I shouldn't be bothered about it. So ultimately I come into that conclusion. Okay, so these are the three views everywhere. You can now name it as something which is determined, and hence no will can be put to that. That means you cannot will either way. So that means the choices either are limited or the choices are imagined to be there, and in reality there are no choices. Even though you're making a choice, it was determined that you're going to make that choice in any given way anyway. It was there, you couldn't see it, now you could see it, so you made a choice. So ultimately it makes itself into a destiny driven game. So you have a destiny, so you are going through that tunnel or to that road with not much of options, and whatever you think are options are random, and if you choose that, you're going on that road again, so which is again predestined or predetermined, like that. So this is how this whole structure and function is, which is true actually, because that's how we see it. That's how every person sees it. So in morning, I was having the same discussion with my wife and said that today afternoon, I'm having this beautiful discussion. So let me ask you certain questions. And she said, yes, go ahead. So she's having stomachache. She's having some cramps. So I said, God made this happen to you. And she said, how can God do that? No. You're in any given way, God is gifting you, right? He'll give you good things or he'll give you bad things. right? Suddenly, what happens when God comes into picture? You always want good things to happen, so you will put the bad thing on karma. So every person will shift from God to karma because he doesn't want to blame the God for bad things. And he doesn't want to appreciate good thing for karma. He says that only bad things happen due to my karma. So she immediately said, no, that's because of karma. I said, excuse me. If you stick with God, God out of compassion is giving you pain. God out of compassion is also giving you pleasure. It can't be that God out of compassion gives you only the pleasure and takes the pain himself. No, you're getting pain. So if you're saying that you're getting a stomach ache, it's because God wanted you to enjoy the stomach ache at this point in time. So in that case, what happens? She shouldn't be taking any medicines. Why? Because God wants you to enjoy the pain. And she's having terrible stomach pain. So enjoy the pain because God is giving you. This one view. Second view. My karma is like that. In that case, good deeds are also good karma. Good results are due to karma. Let's say you're getting a lottery of 100,000 US dollars. It's due to good karma. But I lost 100,000 million dollars. That's due to bad karma. How? They both are karma only. Whether it's good or bad, it is karma. Again, you see in the hindsight is the predeterministic attitude. So you determine it. This happened due to karma. So you now feel at ease because I can now transfer the problem to either to a God or to karma or no cause and effect. So if somebody were to ask, hey, you know what, why didn't you get your visa? He says, I don't know, my karma, maybe some bad deed I have done in the past and or that person didn't like my face or whatever it is. So then I'm feeling that because of that, this happened. So either I will blame on the deeds or I blame on the God. I generally don't blame the God because the God is going to punish me if I do that. But generally, I will try to ask the God, hey God, why did you make me like this? Why couldn't you get me a visa? Why didn't I ask you anything? I asked you a simplest thing, get me a visa. So in Hyderabad, there is one temple called as Visa Temple. Okay. And what they do is they go there. Okay. There is a priest who will say that what kind of visa. So an H4 visa, H1 visa, and then B1, B2 visa, then L1 visa and L2 visas. Then you have F1 visas, that is student visa and all that kind of visa. Right. So before they go to the consulate in Hyderabad or in Chennai, what they do is that they go to that temple. And the priest will ask them to tie their passport on the tree. There's one tree. Okay, so you're supposed to take a photocopy of that and then tie it. And then go to the consulate. So when you go to the consulate, because the God has wished you to get the visa, so you get your H4 visa or H1 visa or whatever visas are available. So you got the visa. Now what happens? You can't apply the predeterministic attitude here. Why? Because you're predetermined to get the visa. Now what happens? You do not use that. You will use karma. Or you will use something else. So out of the three, you keep on, we either mix and match, or we use one over the other, or we'll go by the one. Right? So these are the three predestined way of looking at things, and it works. The beauty of this is it works. In whichever way you put it and see it, it works. So that's an illusion. But it's very difficult to get out of that illusion because it works. It beautifully works. It only with a good eyesight can come out of that thing. Otherwise, he will believe, like what Chirag said, there is neither a cause or an effect, or there is God who is doing it, or there is karma or whatever that is doing that. Simple. This is the tenet of all of the conflicts in the world. You can add up everything from war to business to this to that to job to family to husband and wife and children, and you name anything you want. It covers only these three. Yes. Oh, both of them want to speak. Okay, go ahead. Whoever. Yeah, Aryu, go ahead.
I guess I was just wondering how this second view you're talking about regarding karma different from what Buddha teaches. I mean, Buddha of course teaches our responsibility in this, but just wondering in the description you made, how's that different from Buddha's view?
Very, very different. It's very different. I will share that sutta. It's a beautiful one. You will be blown away by that. Okay.
Okay.
You would think that, can Buddha talk like that? Yes, it is. It is. Right? So he said.
Are you talking about when Buddha talked to some Jains? Is that
No. It has got nothing to do with Jains. There's nothing, no mention of a Jain. And it's a beautiful sutta. It is in Anguttara Nikaya. It's a beautiful one. I really love it. Every time I read it, I feel, wow, what a person who could straight drill into it and say, cut it.
Yes.
Right. So
Chirag, you had a question.
Yeah, I guess what I was wondering about this whole discussion was, I mean, like, I think it's true, because if you really think about it, cause and effect, these are like the concepts of the mind. So, like, in a sense, there is no cause and effect, if you don't fragment your experiences or
Correct.
time anymore.
Correct.
But I think one can still argue that, like maybe what Last might have also said at some point, that given this, this is true. So, for example, let's say you throw a ball, and because you have thrown a ball in a certain way, in a sense, predetermined or predestined that that ball is going to land in a certain spot. So, I guess maybe there's no cause and effect, but I think like what one can do is, if you can trace the actions or trace the history of something, then you can probably make some kind of a prediction or predetermination about what's going to happen next. If one had all that information, what do you think about that?
okay, so what is the best way? See, this will take you only like an intellectual debate, right? So you basically come back to the same circle. There's no way you can exit out of the circle, and it works. Like I said, Chirag, it works in whichever way you put it, whether you say that one or this one, that other one, or whatever it is, and then all experiences you're gaining, there is a predetermined. That's true. Yes.
But then would you say that maybe it's at least partially true, or let's say from an intellectual standpoint, it's not false that if you, let's say, if you split reality, if you look at isolated part of reality and you observe it in its entire history, then you can predict what might happen next. So is that the right view?
No,
or the wrong view, or it's not a useful view?
It's not a useful way. So what happened is that Niels Bohr did one experiment after what Einstein could say that spooky at a distance. So he was right on the theory of relativity. So on that relative aspect of it, you can see it in whichever way you want, and then things will change in a way that the prediction becomes impossible. So it is a spooky game. So you don't know how this randomizing thing comes into play. So Niels Bohr, in his experiment on the quantum mechanics, so he did the double slit experiment. So in that, what happens here is that these particles behave as photons. They're basically photons. So they can either act as a, so initially they thought that it is a particle. So then they said that always there is a deterministic way of these photons which are going to emit out. So it goes in one fashion only. Because when you set an observer effect, it becomes a particle, and when it becomes a particle, it is perfectly deterministic. It exactly goes and hits the spot where it should hit, like an arrow. Once you hit the arrow, when you hit a bullet or whatever it is, it goes there. Every thought of ours, which is made out of the same kind of the photon effect, so it is determined. So you're going to get those thoughts. So example, you get one thought and the same kind of thought will start to come. Initially it is random, but once you start observing it, all those related thoughts will come. So in that way, it proves that it is true, that once it is a particle, it can be determined. So now you can determine your thoughts. Now you can say that, hey, you know what, I'm getting a thoughts of this kind. And it continues. So one you gave it the same kind, it will come, the next one is the same kind, the next one is the same kind. And then all the thoughts are the same kind. So when you want to conceptualize something, when you want to produce something, or when you want to define something, when you want to invent something, all thoughts will run exactly the same sequence. So that means you have to determine the one thought, and then all the thoughts are of the same kind. So now you have a concept which perfectly fits into the design. So if you take how we work in our minds, so first comes the idea, and then it turned into a concept, and then you create a design. And once you create a design, then you have to use a paper or a pen or to write down. So all of those design you then implement it through blocks. So you come to the building blocks of it. So you create that. Then when you create it, you have to use the 5 elements, or rather 4 elements. Forget the space for time being. So then you are going to find out that material which can then bring out that idea. So when we do a house construction, or we create any equipment or whatever, computer, whatever it is, this is the flow which exactly happens. So how did that idea come to be? That idea came to be because there was a cause for that idea to appear, and that's an effect. Effect is that now you can see that you have the equipment or the design or whatever you're trying to do is on paper. So now you have listed it on the paper, even though it's a block diagram, just some boxes, but people can make out that design. You can explain. So now you are in a better position to explain. So idea was determined, and that execution, you can really see the pattern. So now you anyway would have got a different idea. So this idea or that idea, that other idea, it's the same flow. So you can scientifically also prove, forget about the spirituality part of it or a philosophy part of it, even non-philosophically, that's how we work. So anything you do, you should have an idea of doing it. Then you have to conceptualize, because if you want to explain to someone through words or sentences, you need to conceptualize that. Otherwise, you can't explain anything at all. Yes.
So then, let's say, the idea basically, or this predetermination thing that I was talking about, like there are, let's say, I think of it now as a 2 categories, either this view is true or false, and second, either this view is useful or not useful.
Correct.
For enlightenment.
Correct.
So would you say that it's true but it's not useful for enlightenment, or is it not only is that a false view, but it's also not useful for enlightenment?
No, it is speculative. So let's leave the speculation aside. Let's forget about the enlightenment for time being. Let's keep it aside. Okay, let's go to the basic of it. Basic is an idea. Okay, very basic structure of life is an idea. Okay, and that idea is what you can consider it like in Sanskrit and Pali it is called chitta, but let's call it as light, just a light appearing somewhere, right? So then you get that, and that's the reason we show a bulb also, an idea. So then ideation. So then you have that thing, I got it, that one, right? So that's the idea. Now the idea turns into a concept. Okay, you need to drive that. So that idea, otherwise it falls. So you need to give that energy boost, which is basically enthalpy. If I were to use the law of thermodynamics, I hope you don't mind if I use all these things, which are scientifically proven also. So now you have to give that energy. So now when it gets that energy, so then you can convert that into a design. And concepts gives rise to design. And once you design, then you need to experiment. And once you experiment, you get views. Okay. And once you get the view, you get debates. That is where what you're talking about, Chirag. Whether this is useful or not useful, whether this is good or not good, and all that will come. So you get into polarities now. This is good and this is not good. This is useful, this is not useful. Right? Now, once you have debate, the debate turns itself into acceptance. 1 minute. Acceptance on one side of the equation, rejection on the other side of the equation. At this point, when the debate is formed and decision making that we comes, is where the determination is. Okay, if you really want to see where you determine something, is there. So either you determine to be useful and hence do it, or non-useful and drop it. Either which way, because it started with an idea, it already flows through completely. So you can't now go back and see how did that happen, right? So it becomes predetermined. Why? Because you already come at the V. Either you'll choose this or you'll choose that. Now there's no going back because that whole flow is gone. So the idea was there, and then concept was there, then the design was there, then the views came, and then the debate happened, and then the argument to prove that this is right or this is wrong. Okay, this is how a whole structure is, in whichever way you take it, whether science or engineering or medicine or whatever, astrology, astronomy, or to spirituality, or whatever you take, you get only these. So the basic building block is an idea, and nobody can answer how did that idea get formed. We can only tell after the idea is formed, but we can't say how did this idea got formed. So to answer that are three aspects of it, which again comes here, is that number one, it's due to past deeds. So I have a pleasant and a pleasurable and a painful and a neutral feeling which is coming to me because of that idea. Okay, so with every idea I get a pleasure, or I get a pain, or I become neutral to that idea. Okay, like what I'm talking for the last so many minutes, 51 minutes now. Okay, how it is coming? Oh, you know what? He has an idea of that. He knows. Wow, how did he know? There's no answer to that. So this is one. Second one, God gave me this strength. God gave me the idea. God is the one who is helping me with ideas. So now I can communicate the ideas effectively, right? So that is another one. Or there's neither a cause or an effect. There's nothing. So I have no idea how this idea came in the first place. It just happens. So this is how the determination or destiny, or in whichever way we want to call it, works. So we jumble up here in this way. So let me end it here. You can review it, whatever I have said, and that's the reason I wanted to record it. I'll share the link. Then we'll go with what Buddha says. Okay, so that will be, anyway, I'm going to share the sutta to both of you. I'll not only share to Ariu, I'll share in the same group, WhatsApp group. You can just go through it. Whether you understand, not understand, that's fair. Okay, but you will really have an eye opener on how did he solve this problem. It's a riddle, actually. And it is true, it works. The basic thing, like spooky at a distance, or the Neil Bohr's experiment, it works. So what he did, he put a camera and he put an observer effect, and every time he observed, it showed the same predictable result. Like if you want to put it in real life, you see a car of a police car flashing there, so you automatically slow down. Let's say 70 miles an hour you're supposed to go on the freeway, and you're going slightly 73, 75 miles an hour. Suddenly you see a car with that flashing thing, and you know it's a police car, and you automatically slow down. So that is what is a particle. It behaves in highly predictable manner. Like we stand in a line when we go to a grocery store or a supermarket or wherever we go, we stand in a line for if you want to get our billing or invoicing. So then we stand in a line. Nobody has told us, hey, you know what, you need to stand in line. I mean, some people will break the line, that's a separate issue. But generally we stand in a line. The standing in the line is where random goes away. It is predictable. So all that we want to do in life is to predict an outcome. We don't want it to be a probabilistic event. We don't want it to be a possible event. We want to know the possibility, yes, but we want to make it as much predictable as possible. So let's look at the weather gadget. So we have put in our satellites, we have put in so many things, we have invested in so many things, just to make sure that it tells us, you know what, today is going to rain. You know what, this is going to happen. You know what, that is going to happen. So we do all our thing considering it's a particle, like a particle. But actually, photons are both particles and a wave. So 2004 or 5 to 2014, they made the research and they found that it's neither a particle nor a wave in absolute sense. It's both a particle and a wave, and that created more confusion now. When you remove the observer effect, it behaves like a wave. When you put an observer, it behaves like a particle. That means when you watch it, it becomes predetermined. When you don't watch it, it's not determined. So now what happened is, if you toss two coins, and there's a beautiful experiment done by a US professor. There is a video of 1.5 hours or something like that, where he tosses two coins. Okay, two coins, not one coin, two coins. And what should happen? Both should turn head, both should turn tail. One should become head, one become tail. The left one should become head and the right one become tails, and the right one becomes head and the left one becomes tail. This is the probability theory now, right? So now if I toss two coins, for his dismay or surprise, all the experiment he did turned both heads and both tails. And when he put an observer, one was tails, another was heads. And whichever one he said that is going to be tails became otherwise. The other one became head, and this one became, this one became head, and that one became tail. He was even more zapped with that experiment. So then he said, I'm not going to determine it at all. But yet, when he observed, it became head or tail. But when he removed that observer, very funny thing happened. Every time he tested, it showed him the same response. Both are heads, both are tails. And he said that this is how the photons work on looking at it and not looking at it. So it's a wave and particle both. You can't say it will be wave here and particle there and particle here, wave there. No. So what's the, one second. So what's the conclusion of this is that it's neither predetermined nor you can say it is predetermined, which is what the 8th jhana is all about. Neva sanya na sanyayatana. That's exactly comes there. That's exactly where it comes. That, oh, you know what? You cannot determine it. You know what? You can't say you cannot determine nor you can determine. So neva sanya, there's neither perception of determination, na sanya. That means nor there is, you can't say there's no perception. Without perceiving, you cannot determine. So you have to perceive. And the moment you perceive, the last thing you can get into is neither perception nor non-perception. So Buddha went on one more level, removing the feeling. And when you remove the feeling, the perception is gone. Okay, now you know how things work. Not through illusion or not through delusion. You have removed both. You have removed the illusory part of it, which is what Vedanta is. Talks about illusion. You remove the illusion, you can see. Okay, how do you remove illusion? Okay, there is a process. But it is theoretical. It's not practical. Only few people can get that exact Vedanta of non-dual. And otherwise, it's always dual in non-dual. So you can't say I am dual, I am not dual, which is again neva sanya, na sanyayatana. So now you get stuck up in perception, neither perception nor non-perception. Some people get into non-perception itself. It is, they lose the ability to perceive. That's another way of it, which it doesn't help. So basically, what we need to understand is deterministic, non-deterministic, both are there for sure. Okay, if you want to determine, it becomes particle, you can keep on determining and you can keep on telling that, oh, you know what, this happened because of that and that happened because of this and now it's connection. So, oh, anyway, I would have taken that decision. So anyway, this would have happened. Anyway, that could have happened. So it works and it beautifully works. So Buddha used this concept, not concept, Buddha said this, you become what you think. What it typically means is that you determine something, it works that way. So whatever you determine, you become that. Yes, you wanted to ask something.
I just had a funny comment a few days ago when I visited a friend who recently had a newborn, about 2 months old. He said that he go check up on the newborn in the night, right? He said the newborn works kind of like quantum mechanics. He said whenever you go look at him, he's like there looking at you. But if you don't check, he's perfectly fine.
Yes.
Something like that. But whenever you go check, he looks at you.
Right, absolutely. So
I don't know if it has any truth in that.
that's fine. So basically, this is all about whether we go through science or we go through philosophies or you go through whatever we have. So concluding thing is that you come to a stage of there is deterministic, also non-deterministic. Neva sanya, na sanyayatana. That's the last of the arupa jhanas. So you will basically come there and get stuck in that. In whichever meditation you do or whatever philosophies you follow, whatever it is, you come there. You can see that, yes, it is deterministic. You also see that there is no determination. That means you see that there is free will and there is no free will also. You'll see both. Things happening out of free will. It is independent of cause and effect. And you will also see things are dependent on cause and effect. Or both would be there. Now you jumble up. You say, this one karma, that one God, this one this one. So now you jumble things up. and if you remove the jumble, and then the tangle is cut. So you cutting the tangle will open up everything. Yes, yeah, Chirag, go ahead.
Check.
So then what you're saying is it's not like there's no free will or there's no predetermination, but there's also free will and there's also predetermination, but they're both applicable to different scenarios or different cases. Or let's say they work alongside each other, but they don't affect each other's domains.
Absolutely. So what happens here, Chirag, is if I determine to do something, it will work towards that. Let's say I determine to go to a office, keep on determining it, it happens. That's what is called as law of attraction. So you attract basically the thing which you want to attract. So then the universe will make things ready for you. This is again a theory, right? It's again an idea turning into concept, and concept into design, and design becomes a reality and all that, right? So now this you fuel it up. So the aspect of photons, the light particles, is to emit light, and when they emit, they work as particles, they work as wave, which is equivalent to saying I perceive them as particle, however they are waves. I perceive them as waves, however they are particle. So deterministic, non-deterministic works this way. So if you say absolutely is there deterministic attitude? No. Is there absolute non-deterministic? No. So these are two extremes. Is there absolute free will? No. Is there absolute no free will? No. Is it part free will and part no free will? No. Okay. Is it part deterministic and part non-deterministic? No. Okay. Now they used to ask Buddha this question: what happens to Buddha or Tathagata after death? Will he stay or will he not be there? Will he be having form? Will he be formless? Because you can determine. I want to determine because it is predetermined, right? It is predestined and determined. Why I want to determine? Because I want to see that it follows a path, and hence it's determined. So when the photon is fired, it follows a particular path. So when you really do that, you can observe. The moment the observer is there, it exactly works like that. And hence the Satipatthana was said by Buddha, because now you can come to awareness. You basically build awareness, because now you can see from randomization, you can bring yourself into an awareness. You become aware of the conditions. Okay, and then you develop. So Buddha never said that it cannot be determined, nor he said it should be determined. He said there are causes and there's an effect. Let's look at that. Okay, it's 1:38 for me. I need to have lunch, otherwise I will land up in problem. And 2:30 is a meeting in the office, which I cannot skip. So basically what I can do is you think it over. Next, when we meet, whenever we meet, whether we meet on a weekend, I'm free on Thursday, I'm free on Friday. Friday anyway I've taken off, so we can meet. Saturday we can meet, Sunday we can meet, or whichever day we can meet. We can look at how Buddha solves this problem. Yes, Ari.
I just want to quickly mention, like a few months back, I think I had a dream when in the dream I had the same question. You said of free will, and I think I was I was asking you this question in the dream, and the answer was yes. In this very moment, when you're aware, the free will, you have a decision to make.
Correct.
But going forward, it will be dependent on the karma. But then I think you correct me saying if you remain in the awareness, then the decision is always yours.
Right.
Something like that.
Right. That is where we are going to come up in the next. And that is what is living in the present moment.
Yeah.
So you cut basically the mind out of past and future. Yes, Chirag, you wanted to say something.
So you said, I guess that's the topic for the next discussion, but you said that if you are in the awareness, then you can make a choice freely without. Okay, I see.
Wait, so don't get into conclusions. Let's not conclude. Okay, let's look at the problem. The problem here is that, is it deterministic? Yes. It is non-deterministic? Also yes. Okay. The problem is not whether you should determine or not determine. It is like that. The whole thing is like that. And even quantum mechanics proves that. So there's nothing to say no to it. As far as reality goes, the moment you start measuring it, it goes haywire. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't measure. The moment you put a measurement, it changes. So the change is in the measurement. The moment you try to measure, it flows a pattern. It takes a pattern, and that pattern can be predicted, and then it becomes a predictive life cycle approach. So your life is now predicted from birth till death. You can keep on predicting. You know what? I'm going to grow old. It is predicted, right? It's not that you're going to do something about it. I might age slowly, but I can't really say, you know what? I'm not going to age. I'm not going to die. That's not going to happen. So birth on one side and death on the other side are the same coin. There's nothing like the birth is different and death is different, but how we see it is different. So it becomes like two coins approach. They are dependent, mutually dependent, but it looks they are independent because I don't see I'm dying. So I'm doing everything to retain that. Okay, so I want to live. That's what is the basic aim of all beings, from a small insect to human being. We all want to live one next day. Don't want to die. You ask anyone, even a person who has got cancer, he's on a deathbed, he's struggling, but you ask him, can I give you a drug which will make the cancer go away? He would say, please, I want to live. So we are wanting that one, which is living. And we don't want the other one, which is dying. So the deterministic attitude comes in living, because now we can determine, we can put barriers in such a way that the death can be stopped, death can be delayed, the decay can be delayed. So whether it is vegetable products or whether it is products of computer or whatever we are developing, or technology or whatever, we want to sustain, knowing very well there is end of life for every product, but we try our best to make the end of life sunset, what we call as sunset products. We try our best, but if the market changes, you can't sustain those, it goes into end of life. But we determined what? To sustain all the time. And that's there with us. It's there in the product, it's there with us. None of us, for sure, want to die today. None of us. That includes me also. But they both are same. Death is equivalent to birth and birth is equivalent to death. They both are like toss. Both are heads and both are tails, because they're running on a deterministic, non-deterministic format. You can't determine the death, but you can't say there is no death. Right? No matter whatever it is. Yes, Chirag.
So when you're saying you can't determine the death,
you can't determine the death, no? You can, like I had gone to my aunt's place and she was looking very weak, and I took the doctor and she said, maybe 2 months. Now it was March when she said this. Now today is November. She has recovered. Now what do we say? We say, wow, God's grace. Our karma is good. Or I don't know how it happened. It's a mystery. It's a miracle. Or whatever we want to say, but that's truth. Right? And there is one of my wife's side relative. He died very young. And nobody knows how. Because he never had anything. He never had any ailment. whatsoever. And he died. So then the problem, how did he die? What did he do to die? So then you have to either tell him that he was not healthy, or he didn't exercise much, he didn't do this much or that much, and all that stories. Like this lady who is in her 80s and she's come back to life. So now you call that as a miracle. Now this death is also a miracle, right? At such an young age is gone. It's a miracle, but no. That's not a miracle. But it's a miracle how it happened. It's a miracle. So even in that, you cannot determine it at all, which again becomes one view, but you can't say you can determine it. It's another view. So, yes.
Okay, I'll only ask this question if we have enough time. Otherwise, we carry it for the next.
We'll take it next time, because
Okay.
I have only 45 minutes left for the meeting,
Sure.
for which I have to eat also.
Okay, got it.
But
Let's
make a
take it.
note. Make a note of your question. This would be an
Okay.
interesting topic, and we'll solve this problem, and then we can.
It's a very complicated topic, actually. even right now, I'm not, let's say, 100% convinced one way or the other. I think maybe because it's going to be covered in the next session. So yeah.
No, you shouldn't be convinced. Forget 100%. If I were you, I'll say I'm not convinced even 0%. I am at 0. That's fine. See,
Yeah.
thing is, unless you deepen, you go so deep and then see it, you'll really see it. And the moment you see it, all your confusion is gone. That's the promise. Even like you, I was of the same opinion, because that is how I can see things. So then I went into a lot of this thermodynamics, and then a lot into the mathematics, trigonometries and geometrical figures to find out, and then this quantum mechanics. Then I got, even here it is like this, right? So, and when I do the meditation, I go into all the 8 of them, and then exactly the point you come there, you really see that, wow, it's great. You can't say this doesn't exist. You can't say it exists either. You can't say it exists and doesn't exist. You can't say it's neither existing nor existing. You can't say this is conscious or unconscious. Or is it consciously unconscious? Or unconsciously conscious? Which one is that? But all are deterministic. And that is where it all starts. Should get into the idea formation. It's quick, immediate. It just clicks. Got it. What did you get? It's gone. Right? It's just a flash. That's it. Over. So now, from not knowing, you have known it. It's just a flash. It changes. Your opinions and everything is just a flash. But you have to come to that idea, which is what in Abhidhamma they call it as the chitta and the chetasika. So that's another topic to take, but that's the basic building block of everything.
All right, we'll let you eat.
Thank you and good night, and safe, good dreams, and have a deterministic, non-deterministic dreams.
Yeah. Let me know what Vilas says to you in your next stream, so I can also get some learnings from that.
Okay. I wish.
And maybe the Vilas in the dreams is even better than the live version with us right now.
Yeah, it's possible.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Okay. Good night.
All right. Have a good lunch and
Yeah.
good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.